welcome back to the One Pop Podcast. This is your boy Dennis.
Sure.
Your boy CN. Guys, we have a treat for you. I told y'all we're gonna have treats coming up. Treats in so many different ways. You'd be surprised. You're gonna feel like it's Halloween, but there's nothing here to scare you guys. Everything's gonna feel good.
All candy.
All candy. Guys, I have a wonderful guest. A person who I've known throughout the years. Always been a hard worker, go-getter. Never fails in everything she does. And I'm using the word she. Yes, guys. I would say personally for me, the youngest lawyer I've ever met. And I'm not going to give her her age, but I'm going to use the word youngest.
I think the only lawyer I've ever met.
The only lawyer. You feel me? Guys, I want to bring to you Janelle Fernandes, lawyer.
Hi, guys. I'm not that young. I'm really not. I just look young.
I don't know, Janelle. Every lawyer that I've ever come across have gray hair. Right?
I have a few of those too.
You see, you getting there.
Trust me, I hide them well.
Yeah, okay, I see.
Every lawyer I've ever seen has been ancient, and they look like they've been through some things. So you don't look like any of them.
Oh my gosh.
I'm glad to hear that.
So I want to get to the meat of it, guys, because I think this week's episode is very, very important. Based off me saying that, Janelle, I know you're a lawyer. Can you tell me what type of lawyer are you?
I do business immigration. So not all aspects of immigration, but business immigration.
Okay, so can you define what is business immigration?
So business immigration is anything regarding employment. So if you get a green card or a visa based off of what you do, your profession, any kind of business that you're doing, even if you own a business, it's just employment based stuff.
Okay.
No, I know the word business is a very, very strong word. All right. So do you only work with companies or do you work with people as well?
No, of course we work with individuals as well. I mean, some individuals will come and say, hey, this company is interested in sponsoring me. Can you give me information? Sometimes it doesn't have to be a sponsorship. Sometimes it's just a matter of you can self-petition for yourself. So if you have, a certain profession that allows for that you can self-petition yourself and there's no need for a sponsor company, then, we can do that as well. Even through what they call the labor certification process, it's a part of the sponsorship process. People will come to us like, hey, what about the labor cert? What about the perm cases? And, we work with individuals as well.
Okay. So what is the process for the sponsorship like?
So you definitely have to have a company that's interested in sponsoring you before anything. The sponsorship process is it depends on the case that you're doing. So there are different cases that we can do. We can do the perm or the labor cert. They're kind of interchangeable. People know them as the same thing. Mm-hmm. And in that, it's basically saying like, hey, we looked for people in the U.S. to fill this position, but we couldn't find anyone. And this person is really qualified and we want them to work for our company.
Okay.
We go through the process of recruitment as well to prove to USCIS and immigration, like, hey, we did do this search. Mm-hmm. We did send out ads. We were really looking. We may have even gotten resumes, but the person wasn't qualified or wasn't as qualified as this person. They can't do what this person can do. All that. Then it's a matter of filing the actual petition for the individual with immigration. So that takes a little bit of time as well. Once we figure out, hey, there's nobody else that can do this person's job. Or there are others like, so the perm and the labor cert, it's what would be called an EB3. Mm-hmm. There's also EB2, which is you have an advanced degree. And then within that advanced degree, we also do the labor cert for you, but it's just a different argument. You're not, you're still arguing like, hey, nobody else can do this job, but you're also arguing like this person's really qualified.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like halfway through that you started speaking French. So
Tell me fine. What don't you understand?
The EB portion of it. So like
EB is just employment based.
Okay. Oh,
so
okay.
it's just the different types of employment based visas or green cards that you can get.
Okay, so how many different levels are there?
5. There's 5 preferences.
And I know Dennis asked you tell me there's 5 preferences.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the 5 preferences? I'm asking just for anybody out there who's curious as well.
Right. So EB1 is generally what they call the Einstein. So these are for artists. These are for athletes. These are for the people who are at the top of their field. People who are winning international awards. Their names are out there. They're in the media. They they're, like I said, they're well known and they're really good at what they do. EB2 is more, like I said, for advanced degrees where you can either have it as a sponsored EB2 or a self-petitioned EB2. So self-petitioned EB2 is what you call the national interest waiver. So it's for advanced degrees in pretty much, I don't want to say any field, but any field that brings the national interest, like it's a positive move for the national interest of the United States. It's in the benefit of the national interest. So I've done a lot of engineer cases for national interest because there's not a lot of engineers here. Both presidents actually even mentioned that we need a lot more STEM people. So STEM automatically is looked at as like, whoa, you're doing something that a lot of people aren't doing in the U.S.
Can I pause? I want to ask one question based on that. What is STEM for anybody who doesn't know what STEM is?
So STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So any profession or career that's linked to those, areas.
And it's funny you used to talk about there's not been a lot of engineers here. Worked a couple of companies in the past, and I've realized that's one thing they're always seeking. So it's funny how you bring that up.
Yeah, overseas, you mean?
Well, overseas and here as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so I noticed you mentioned the president. So just a general question: what is it like working in the Trump era?
I wasn't working in immigration before the Trump era. So it's been a few years for me now, but I've heard horror stories since he came into the presidency versus people who were working before he came in. All I know is what I have been working under, and it's pretty much chaos.
Wow.
It's really bad because, you'll have clients looking to us, to help them feel more stable and more comfortable. And I think that's part of what I do in my job that I take pride in. All of my clients will always say, you made me feel so safe and secure during this process. And I understand how difficult it can be to be an immigrant and in this situation that you have no control over. And you're just kind of trusting somebody else with your life. So that's part of what I think I would like to bring more of, to immigration. But working under Trump is just complete chaos. You never know what's going to change from day to day. You have to be just very abreast on the laws. And then, not to mention, you have the clients who are naturally, feeling stressed and feeling, freaked out and asking a bunch of questions. And, you might say one thing today and then something changes in the law and they're looking at you like, but you told me X, Y, Z. And it's like, it's not me. It's immigration. But they're, clients will always look at you like, well, are you lying to me? Or, you don't know what you're talking about. And like, that's so not the case. And there's so many times where there's a thing called a request for evidence when you send in a petition. USCIS is United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. So they're the ones that we mail all the petitions for business cases. They're also the ones that send give their officers these cases to go over and say, okay, do they qualify for this or do they not qualify for this?
Okay.
A lot of times the officers, they're not trained well. So they don't really know what they're doing either. You have to explain things into like so much detail with them. And that's another part of what's necessary at this point. And it's things that you would never even think that, you would have to explain to them, but you do. So, USCIS will come back and say, hey, we don't understand this. We need more evidence. It's a request for evidence. the client's automatically looking at you like, what went wrong? Everybody's freaking out like, oh my gosh, they wrote me. They're saying this, they're saying that, they're saying I don't qualify. And so it breeds more chaos because you now have to explain to everybody like, hey, this is normal. RFEs are completely, the percentage of RFEs that come back under Trump is just ridiculous at this point. It never used to be like this. I've heard this from many attorneys. And the requests for evidence that come back, sometimes they don't even make sense. Sometimes it's like they read it, but they didn't read it. Or they ask questions that don't even relate to your client. I'll get a request for evidence all the time and just sit there like cursing at the paper. Like, like you just want to strangle the officer. But you also have to remember that they're working under the Trump administration as well. Everything is chaotic for everyone, not just us, not as attorneys, not just us as clients. It's also the administrations that don't know where they're going from one day to the next because, this administration changes their mind very often, or they implement things, from day to day. Like one implementation that he made was that business cases, which never used to go through the interview phase. They just, would get approved and then they'd get their green card later on in the mail or whatever. Now, business cases, they all go through that interview process, just like family-based cases. And family-based cases, to me, it makes sense. You have these marriages that you have to kind of try and figure out, like, hey, are you trying to con us? Are you scamming us? But the business cases, now that he basically allocated, like, hey, we need, these officers who have never done this before. To start doing these interviews for the business cases, and they've never seen these, what are the qualifications, what do people have to have, and there's 5 new preferences for them to learn. So they're all going through this like the same way as us. They're kind of learning on the fly. I've been to interviews with clients that officers are asking way out there questions, and you have to bring them back like, hey, that's not even part of this. Like wrong category, or yeah, that question is not really for this. And so I think a lot of them now will focus on, family questions as well. If you have a wife and kids, or, they'll come back and be like, okay, well, your wife is also getting a benefit from this business green card because, she gets her green card as well. Your entire family will. So when did you guys meet each other? When were you married?
Oh yeah, because you got people out here dropping money for that, dog.
And that's a very intriguing question. So there's people dropping money in so many different ways, because it depends on what part of the world you live, or what part of the United States you live in. You see those things a lot, and I would like to waver people to be careful about stuff like that. It's not a road you really want to travel, because especially if you're trying to come into the United States or America and you're doing something like that, and then they find out that you're doing something wrong, there's 2 things going to happen. They're going to give you jail time, because they like to give you jail time. You're gonna pay back your debt to society, and then they're going to deport you right after that.
I'm not really sure that you get arrested for immigration fraud, but they will detain you through ICE, and you'll spend some time in the detention center before they deport you. I mean, you'll have a trial, same as always, but, using the word detention center is kind of, to me, it's interchangeable. Like, jail and detention center is the same to me. People think that a detention center is, cushy and, they're good. It's just they're just being detained until they get to go back to their country. Like, no. You walk into these places and some of the detention centers are in horrible conditions. It really is like jail. I've visited clients there, and there's holding areas. They have their own areas. They're in there with criminals as well, who have also just completed jail time and were transferred to the detention centers. I've been to detention centers and been to court at the detention centers and seen inmates that I guess are trying to... Well, I shouldn't say trying. I don't really know if he was or he wasn't, but he was trying to get the insanity, because if you're in, mentally not there, not capable, and can't understand the proceedings, they can't really do a trial. They can't send you back. That's due process, right? So he was trying to get, everybody in the courtroom to figure that he's insane, and he fully pulled down his pants and threw poop at the judge.
Wow.
These are the kind of people that you're dealing with.
You do what you gotta do.
I didn't want to say where my mind went with that one.
So now imagine, somebody who is in their complete, wits, and they know what's going on, and, they were just trying to get over here any way that they could, but, they did it the wrong way, and they're stuck in there with these kinds of people. It's just like jail. It's not anything different. You have, lockdown times. You have times when, they do the count. You have times when you can go to the cafeteria or eat or whatever. You go through the day just like if you're in a jail.
Yeah,
it's not cushy.
that pretty much does sound like jail, but like from what it looks like, it's obvious that the Trump era has everybody shook. Mm-hmm. So according to that, there'll probably be companies that might not want to sponsor people per se or immigrants as much. Are there any options for them?
Yeah, self-sponsorship is definitely an option. The companies are definitely wary, but there still are companies out there, because I've actually spoken to people who are like, oh, well, they're saying that companies won't sponsor anymore. That's not true. The best thing to do is to find, a company that you can have an internship with, or, work with and have a good relationship with, and see where it goes from there.
Like Disney?
I never know. I think Disney's non-profit. So yeah, it's
no. They have interns at Epcot.
They have an internship program, but any company, any company that's related to your field, if you're doing a business case, that you can get an internship with, and just develop those in career, professional ties. So. Obviously, if you work for somebody, if you have an internship and they see that you do good work and you're good at what you do, it'll intrigue people. Like, hey, maybe we should try to keep this person on. Like, let's see what we can do. But yeah, self-sponsorship is an option. Like I said, there's the national interest waiver. And the national interest waiver, like I said, a lot of people think that it's tied to one profession or just, I want to say the people at the at the very top, that doctors, lawyers, that kind of thing, but there are definitely other careers and professionals that can get through the national interest waiver, because anything like I said before, that is in the national interest, that is does benefit the U.S. Is something that you can do as a self-petitioner. So like I said before, I have done engineering cases. I have done a specialty doctor case. She was a pain management specialist. That was one of my babies. I love that case. Yeah. I've done graphic designer cases. I've done marketing cases, but I mean, the marketing was kind of tied into other areas. In marketing, sometimes you do that degree, but then you have other areas that you specialize in. I've done finance cases. I've done, there are a lot of people that qualify for national interest waivers. So I think for some reason there's a rumor out there, because I had a consult the other day and someone was like, oh, yeah, EB2 national interest waiver, I've heard about that, but it's only for researchers. And I was like, what? It kind of caught me off guard, because I was like, who told you that? Like, what like, who would even bring that, Yes. And yeah, it is for researchers. It is for scientists. It is, but it's not just for them. There are a lot of people who can get through the national interest waiver. You just need to talk to an attorney and figure out, it's all up to the attorney and see, what is in the national interest right now. What does the U.S. need, and what arguments can be made for that?
It's very intriguing, Janelle, that you talk about the national interest waiver and some types of the people who qualify for one. And I have a very big reason I'm asking this. Based on the fact that coming from Jamaica, in the early part of Jamaica, Jamaicans, we used to ship workers from Jamaica to the United States to work in crops. A lot of those people were known as like farm workers or sugarcane workers, right? Because they used to come down here and chop crops down. And then some of them, over the years, I don't want to say it in a good or bad way, some of them ran off and find other ways of staying here.
Yeah, I hate hearing that. I absolutely hate hearing that. And I've said it so many times in the Caribbean community. People don't realize that there could be options, and they just come over here and they think like, hey, well, I'm just gonna fly under the radar, and your life is not gonna be much better over here, because you can't get away with working over here without a work permit. You can't get away. You can never travel again. You have to just kind of sit under the radar and hope that you don't get caught.
Yes.
Trying to make ends meet by doing whatever you can, but you can't hold a job unless, you take menial work or, and for people with educations and degrees and even, like you're saying, farm workers, some of them that may have degrees that do work on farms are agricultural engineers. Like, hey, I just said a buzzword, engineer. I've done agricultural engineer cases and gotten them national interest waivers and gotten them their green card. So, it just frustrates me. Like, people think that there are no options and they go and they think like, okay, well, we'll just run away and just try to make it work. But you're not going to make your life great for you or your children by doing something like that. Like, you need to find out if there's another way, if there's an option for you that doesn't, keep you living like you're a fugitive.
Yeah, I was just about to say that too, because like it kind of feels like by them doing that, they kind of kill the whole perspective of the American dream for themselves.
Yeah. Exactly. But I mean, I don't judge because, people just think like, hey, I'm going to make a better life for myself. And I understand that. I get that. I'm very tied to the immigration process and the feelings that go through people and the motivations that people have. Both of my parents were immigrants, so I get it. I understand the thought process, but why wouldn't you want to try and at least see if, you could get through in a good way, in a way that, you can provide for your family and not have to have these, things held over your head, like, hey, you need to stay away from here, like, oh, hey, I heard there's a raid right now, like, we need to stay away from over there, like, oh my God, the restaurant next door to my job just got, and I say job loosely, just got raided. Like, it's not a great way to live. It's not.
Yeah. And we're talking about people who can qualify for one. So what about people who are like nurse aides or custodian workers? Would you think people in those end, because I do understand a lot of people in business and is a little bit middle class probably in their previous country. But what about people who are in the lower end? How could they be able to not say take advantage, use this as a platform for them to make a better way into America to have a better chance?
So national interest waiver isn't really designed for the lower income people, I suppose. I don't even want to call it lower income. It's not about the income that you make, but those are more skilled workers, and so that would fall more so under EB3 perm process, and that requires a labor certification. That does also require a company sponsor. So I would not recommend that either of those professions.
And that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to touch on the interest waiver, because I don't want anyone out there who's listening who feels like, I am going through this immigration process, but I don't fit certain category. What category do I fit?
Right.
And that was very important.
And that's to me why it's so important to actually speak to an attorney. Because you don't know what category you fit. And if you're, just going to say like, oh, that doesn't apply to me, you'll never know. You will never know. And there may be people out there that have gotten cases, approved that you would fall into. So I just think that, having an attorney is super important.
All right. So there's a lot of immigrants that's coming over as students. What are some options they can have if they want to stay after their graduation?
Oh, I love students.
Yeah.
These are the ones that really need to get educated, because there are a lot of options to stay over here, whether temporarily or permanently. Right. After you get your degree, as I mentioned before, national interest waivers are for people with a bachelor's degree plus 5 years of experience. At least 5 years of experience. Generally, if you have a bachelor's degree, you have, more experience, 10 years experience and up, or a master's degree and higher. A lot of people that I've come across, a lot of students will come over here and actually complete their master's. And that doesn't require having experience if you have a master's degree and your job is in the national interest. Right. So that just excites me, because when people come to me and it's like, oh, what can I do? And I'm like, hey, you actually qualify for a national interest waiver. You can self-petition. But on the other hand, like I was talking about before, talking to a company, getting an internship, creating those ties, creating those relationships is super important for students, because Once you come out of school, then you've already had, your CPT training. So a CPT is curricular practical training. While you're in school, while you're completing your degree, you can apply for CPT. You just got to talk to your DSO, your designated school official. And for international students, there's always one. Mm-hmm. So you talk to them, they help you, figure out like, hey, can I do this CPT? Can I find a company that'll, allow me to intern for them? And you can be working during school, A lot of people don't know that either. A lot of people come over here and they're like, the struggles of student life, I can't work. Because, if you're on an F1 visa, you're not supposed to work. Like a F1 visa is a student visa.
Okay, so I wanted to clarify that, guys, because as you can tell, just in case anybody come over here and think that you may gonna get a little job, a little side job, you got to be careful because you put your whatever company you're working with in jeopardy.
So is that for like those the kids that go to like the technical schools,
yes,
like FIT and stuff like that? Their parents just send them over,
yes,
or whatever, and then they don't even have to work. They just dump money into their accounts and stuff like that.
Yes.
And I always wondered why it was like that. So
and that's a good question.
Yeah, you're not supposed to work on an F1 visa, no matter how old you are. You could be doing a bachelor's, you could be doing an English course. Like, it doesn't matter. You're not supposed to be working on an F1.
All right. So hypothetically speaking, if I was a student and I was like, you know what, I just need a little bit of pocket money, and then I, get a job at like Subway or something. Mm-hmm. Are they just gonna run up on me, or like how does that work?
I mean, they could if they found out. I haven't seen it happen, but they could. The same way that they can do, ICE raids and say, hey, what's your status? Like, what are you doing? Like I said, I haven't seen it, but Subway could definitely get in trouble, and you are violating your status as an F1 student.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna tell you, based on my somewhat knowledge, you can clarify this for me, because this is good to have clarification. This is what this platform is here for. I know that some students, when they go to school, come as an international students, mm-hmm, they do provide them with a social security number, and that's because you're considered part of the system. Is that correct?
Not for all of them.
Not for all.
So, like I was talking about before, let me get back to that. So you can do CPT, and sometimes once you're done with your program, you can also do OPT. So OPT is optional practical training.
Nice.
And optional is just a matter of like, do you want to go back home now that you've finished your degree, or do you want to get some training and work experience? So to me, that's it's very valuable for students to take that up. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, you have the experience to work over here with a company. You're getting paid for working over here with a company. Once you start getting paid, that's the reason that you need the social. So that's the reason that you'll see, okay, some international students do have socials. Okay. Because now it's all about taxes, yes, that's where that comes in. But to me, I think OPT is super important, especially for people who are going to say like, okay, what are my options after this? Once you have that OPT training, you're working with a company that could potentially sponsor you later on. You may have the option of doing an H-1B visa. So H-1B visas are, for certain professions. I wouldn't say everyone qualifies when they come out, but those are also the lottery cases. So there's only a certain amount allotted for the entire year, for the entire fiscal year. It starts on April 1st, and we send in all these applications and say, okay, who got picked for the lottery? And once you get your H-1B visa, you're working with this company. You can also change companies as long as you have your H-1B visa. You have to send in another petition, and it's not at that point you already have the visa, so it's not a lottery anymore. This is yours to use for the amount of time that you got it for, which is usually like 5 to 7 years, depends on how many times you renew it. But you can renew it every year. And once you start working with that company or another company, like I said, you can transfer, because some people don't realize that they feel like they're stuck in this company, with who sponsored them for the H-1B visa for the 5 years, and it's like you're stuck in a miserable job. Like, no, you can find another job as long as somebody else is willing to sponsor you, because it's another visa application to renew the H-1B. But once you're done with that, you now have 5 to 7 years of experience up here.
Mm-hmm.
If you had a bachelor's
it all.
degree and you have that 5 to 7 years of experience, and what you do is in the national interest, like, hey, buzzwords,
Yes.
come see me.
That's national interest.
Okay, so do you have to be outside the U.S. to apply for a green card or a visa?
No, absolutely not. So there are 2 ways that you can do it. Either consular processing, which is you're outside of the U.S. in your own country, and the visa itself gets processed through the consulate or embassy or wherever down in your own country. So that way you can, if you have a tourist visa, you can keep traveling back and forth while your case is pending. And then once you go to the consulate and they approve your case, and they give you that little visa stamp, and then you come up here and, see about your business. Or you can do what's called adjustment of status. So if you come up here on a different status, let's just say that it's a tourist visa or a student visa or whatever the case is. There are options to either one, but once you do that, you're adjusting your status from, let's call it a student visa to a green card. So there's that process where you'll just go to USCIS offices over here, and you have your interview here, and then, you get your green card in the mail or however. But yeah, there's both options.
All right, so this whole time I thought green card and green card was the nickname for a visa. Is there a difference between the two?
Yeah. And you're not alone, I promise you. You'd be surprised the amount of things that people are like confused about when it comes to immigration. But so green card is the permanent route. Green card means that you're a resident of the U.S., right? A visa is the allotment of something temporary. So if you have a visa, you're supposed to be here for a certain amount of time. Let's call it, I do O visas as well. Usually they're called artist visas. So the artist will come over here for maybe some performances, or they're here, to work just for the year. I mean, it's renewable as well for, up to a certain amount of time, but generally it's temporary work that you're coming to do in the U.S. And that works, not just for employment-based stuff. It's also visas, in other categories. So, it's not the same, but I suppose it's become interchangeable. People, will just say, "Oh, I have a visa."
Yeah, but I mean, Jenny, this is something very important. Now, for any musician who's technically international, who's trying to get over here and do some performances, I want to let you guys know, you guys got bread. It's right here. The link is right here. She's definitely someone you want to see. Yeah. And we're gonna make sure of that.
And it's not just artists. It's it's called an artist visa, but it's I know the Caribbean community think artist is the singer, the rapper, but the producers are artists.
Right.
People who draw and paint are artists. People, photographers are artists. Ice skaters are artists.
Yeah.
I've had an Olympian case, a gold medalist. I mean, there's all kinds of artists and athletes and, that fall into that category. So don't look at it and say like, okay, well, I wouldn't qualify. I mean, there are visas that, artists will come over here and we can get a visa attached to the artist for their roadies, for their, the people in their team can come over here as well on that same visa. Like it's not, only this person can go, or they're definitely group related stuff.
And I like how you said that, because I know artists do travel to the United States for, even if you're a retired artist, you come here to receive awards, or they have you in like a panel for you to be a network broadcaster at the time. So and Jill, I want you to say this. You actually opened my eyes to a way broader door than from what I walked into.
Yeah, because people come over here and they think that like, hey, I gotta get married.
On the real, that's what I've been hearing. It's like, it's like, I'm just gonna find me a nice little Becky. You know what I'm saying? Let her fall in love with me, get married, chill out for about like a year or two, and then we're gone. Like that's
hold on. Becky's not the only one getting love. Larkeisha getting I just want to make sure of that.
It's equal love opportunities.
Yeah, equal love
opportunities.
No, but people definitely think that, you know, marriage is their only option, and like I said, that's the reason that I just feel so sad when people don't know their options, don't try to find out. You just think like, all right, I'm gonna get married. But, you know, trying to get married, I think those options, I guess, are saved or should be saved for the people who come over here and overstay. But if you didn't overstay, and if you know, have gotten to the point where it's like, I want to seek help first, then you wouldn't have to just be, you know, depending on that option.
Speaking on that, there was this lady that I worked with at one of my previous jobs. Like, it was a job me and Trevor had worked at previously, and her husband was Mexican. Now, what happened is he was here, and of course she's here, and they got married, but they got married in Mexico, and then they came back, and they pulled up on him. They're like, your documentation's not valid here. So, like, she came back, but they sent him back. So, like, it was wild when she was telling me about it, because I didn't really understand it until I figured out, okay, you got married in a different country, so it really doesn't count. So,
well, no, that's not true. It's not the fact that she got married in a different country. It's the fact that you can't just leave the country and get married and then come back and think that you're gonna file this case, because they're gonna ask you, first of all, you know, when you come in through customs and immigration, hey, what are you here for? And most of these people will come in on a tourist visa, and you can't be coming in on a tourist visa saying, hey, I'm here to vacation, I'm here to tourist it up, let me go to Disney World, and then, you know, come in actually because you just got married and you want to file for your papers. Like that does, you can't do that. And that, I mean, if you say otherwise, that could be deemed fraud. And fraud is something you never want in immigration land.
So you got the dude sitting there with the paper like, so you came in for the fall festival,
right?
And magically found love.
Right?
I mean, I don't judge. I've seen people fall for each other within a week. Like, you know, come on now. But you just have to go about it the right way. You know, there are ways to, if you know that you're going to get married, to come back. Like, hey, there's a fiance visa.
Right.
There's a K visa. That, you know, that's what it's for. So you apply for this K visa, and they literally give you 3 months to come in and deal with your stuff.
Well, let me jump in. I want to interject. You talked about a fiance visa and K visa, right?
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. Can you elaborate on it?
So yeah, once you apply for it and you get approved for it, they give you the 90 days to come to the United States and get your paperwork in and, you know, become legal, to do your thing. So you can't just try to, you know, go around the system and be like, all right, I'm gonna get married and then come in and file my papers from here. You have to go through the legal route. You know, you can't just be like, all right, I'm gonna come in on a tourist visa, but like, for real, I'm trying to get married, I'm trying to, you know, stay here. You're not a tourist. Like, don't try to BS us.
Yeah, you on a mission. Yo, Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible, dog.
So on the immigration forums, I heard that they want our social media and our emails.
What?
Why they gotta be up in my social feed, my MySpace? I still got it, and Twitter. Like, why it has to be up on my business for?
All right. So this is new. This is a new policy, and people should be very careful of this and very wary of it. So. First of all, you can't not give them your social media handles and your platforms, and they will be researching you, so don't get any ideas. Like I said, fraud is never something you want in immigration land. So if you tell them that you ain't got no social media, and then you have social media, and they see your social media, you just lied to the government. There's no, like, you can't, no.
Just came back from the beach. It was nice. Get on the ground!
We've in Neverland.
But so yeah, social media I think is an important tool for this administration, for immigration right now, because people have just gotten so used to putting their entire lives on social media.
Right.
And it's so dangerous for immigrants right now because there are certain questions on forms that you'll complete, including as if you're over here and you say like, okay, yeah, I'm not working over here or I haven't worked over here. Now, next thing you know, you got an Instagram post talking about, oh, just came back from work.
Having the money phone on, I probably should take that down.
Yeah. Like, first of all, you lying. Second of all, fraud. Like, I'm just going to keep calling fraud.
One still count.
Yeah, that's
but,
right.
Things that people don't even realize actually matter, they matter. And once, immigration digs through and finds stuff on your social media, it's very dangerous. Even, I brought up the work aspect. Those people that are making money off of social media. Mm-hmm. So you have the influencers like, I'm posting this product and I am in New York right now. You are in the United States posting a product for somebody on social media and you're getting paid for it. You are working in the U.S.
Right.
And you told us that you weren't.
Oh. Okay, so basically what you're saying is you could, like... Let's go back to my boy working at Subway. Let's say like he's got his Instagram page and at the same time he's working at Subway. He's posting up pictures, making this money, fanning out fives and all that.
Posting
and then
salami sandwiches.
And then he goes ahead and he does his little like review on like let's say water or something like that. And he's like, this has been brought to you by blah 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 blah. All right, so at that moment, if like he reaches like episode 6 of his little like Instagram thing, can his door like magically be kicked open?
Listen, so I don't see I guess in my line in business immigration, for the most part, people who file business petitions, they're pretty educated and they seek out attorneys beforehand, but so I don't see that aspect a lot with my clients and the people that I work with. I mean, for the most part, because I'm their attorney. But it's plausible. You can have that happen to you. I just think that it more so affects you later on down the line.
Okay.
So, if you decide to file a petition to say, like, hey, I want to stay here, and, one of the questions on the adjustment application is, like, have you worked in the U.S., and you say no, it'll come back to bite you in the ass.
To be like, oh, you got paid by this specific water company.
Right.
That's a job, Jeff. All right, so just stemming off of that alone, what's your take on the ICE raids that they're about to get into?
Well, according to our lovely president, he decided that he's giving us 2 weeks to work it out. I don't believe nothing that man says ever. So I just would think that people need to be proactive here. Just be very careful with what's going on. The thing is that they phrased it that they're looking for people who are already out of status, who have, done the overstay, who don't have immigration petitions filed, for any kind of relief. They're also trying to target children. So children who came over here undocumented with their parents, but now they're over 18. So, it's just it's dangerous right now. It's been that way. They're also going after people who have had immigration hearings and just never showed up. I don't know why anybody would do that. They'll find you. Like, don't not show up.
Do they do it discreetly or do they do it SWAT style? Like you sitting there, same dude.
Actually,
because I don't know why I keep going back to the Subway thing, but he's sitting there, he's getting his sandwich made. It's like, by the way, is your name Jeff? It's like, yeah. Oh, great. Come back.
I'm gonna take it back a couple months ago. 21 Savage, the musician, he was driving his car, and he said they pulled him over and they had machine guns in his face.
What?
They told him to get out of the car, get on the ground, and he was like, "Well, I didn't do anything wrong," and he's like, "I don't have no problem with the police," and they're like, "Yo, we ain't the police, we ICE." And we have your immigration.
Wait, so did they pull up on him with lights?
Yeah,
they just pulled up on him.
They pulled up on him like he's
what?
driving in traffic. and all you see was the vehicle that's, and then they just blocked him off, pulled him over, and he's basically thought it was the police that got him. Like, okay, so, and he's like, well, I didn't do anything wrong. Like, why am I being detained? And they're like, this ain't the police. This is ICE.
Yeah, I think it can go both ways. I've only seen it, like I said, it doesn't come to my doorstep usually for the type of clientele that I have, but I've seen it in my hometown. So, there's been roundups and you'll see all these, cars almost looking like a SWAT raid. Like, you just have to stay away. They'll block off the streets. Like, it's kind of crazy. And you have people, like, running away and I was at a Wendy's one time and people are, running through the door like, oh, they're doing, all these raids down there and, it looks like a ghost town right now. It's sad. You gotta be careful. You really have to be careful right now.
And I mean, so you touched on something and talk about the administration giving about 2 weeks. And now I'm not sure how straightforward this is. From what you said and from what I read online, and I like to read stuff online, not saying I'm taking every breadcrumbs that's being dropped as food, but it was talking about, as of last Sunday, I want to make sure that the process have started. They're going to start looking for everyone, as you stated, everyone who filed a petition who didn't show up. And I want to say this, right?
Who had a court hearing.
Who had a court hearing and didn't show up. And I'm going to say this, if you had a court hearing and you didn't show up, you're putting your families in jeopardy as well, because they're going to start coming to your family's house and look through them. And if you have any love for any of your family members, try not to put your family through that. Talk with a lawyer. I think that should be the first step, so you can get some things being done. And then for anyone who's going through this process, it's better you just get it over with, so you get back to moving on with your life. Because all you do is putting in the delay and then putting yourself and other people around you in jeopardy. So it's best to start figuring some things out before these things come knocking on your door. And based on what I've read and administration is saying, they're coming. So if they're coming, just get prepared. Now,
see, it's the thing that makes it like the most uncomfortable is the fact that they could pull up on you out of nowhere. Like what if I'm like sitting here in church and the pastor's about to get to his main sermon, and all of a sudden like old boy sitting next to me is like, yo, when he's done, I'm gonna need to talk to you. And,
well, then
like you're just sitting there, all of a sudden you look to the left and everybody's dressed in black.
And then for real, half the time they won't let you finish, because the opportunity to let you finish is an opportunity you may try to take to go. So the first opportunity they get to hold on to you, they're taking it. So if you're a pastor, and I don't want to say, because I don't want to bring no bad judgment, because I went to church today, and the Lord is my Savior. All right, but if you're preaching and they come for you, right? You be saying, and thank you for speaking the word, but you got to go now.
But I would think they would come with some discretion.
There's no discretion, none.
Even if that pastor is been up there, give him some good word.
Well,
that's so precious.
Yes, that's so precious.
I'm thinking the same thing. Like, homeboy pulls up on you while you making a sandwich at Subway. It's like, yo, I'm gonna need that extra lettuce. Yeah. But after you done,
let me tell you,
gotta go.
The way that this administration has, painted undocumented immigrants and immigrants in general, and that entire population is there to be looked at as criminals. So don't be surprised when you have the administration and their officers coming after you, treating you like criminals. That's just the reality of it. Like, have you guys ever seen American Gangster with Denzel Washington?
Yeah.
Like, he did him a courtesy because they've run into each other before.
Yeah.
But it's not about courtesy. It's about, they feel like you're a criminal and this is what's happening. It's, a pastor is irrelevant to them.
And I see a lot of them, like, from what it looks like, and they paint it in the media, they make them look like refugees too. Like, it's crazy.
I just think it's amusing to me at this point, the amount of misinformation and just bias that people are listening to right now. My first take, I think, would just be look up statistics. I mean, don't take the media for their word right now. You have people, it's just painting this they and us kind of vibe. Us and them, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, we're all people. We're all people. It's not always about the criminal aspect to it. And people are being painted, well, they overstayed and that's a crime. And, to me, it's just kind of like, what kind of crime is that? What kind of crime is it that these people are looking for a better life? The majority of the U.S. was like that. It's just sad right now. But
no, Jill, I know you're a very passionate person, right? Now, and I'm not saying I'm jumping off the bridge because I want to stay on top of it. Now,
can you swim though?
I can swim. I can swim. I don't know about sharks, but I can swim. If I may ask, why did you choose to study law?
Oh, so this is actually a funny story. I didn't choose to study law. I was blackmailed into studying law.
Oh wow! Story time.
Yeah, honestly, I had completely a different path in mind for my life. From when I was younger, my dad used to always tell me, like, you're gonna be a lawyer, you're gonna be a lawyer, and that didn't really do much for me because I was very I don't want to say rebellious, but I was more so like, you're not gonna tell me what I'm gonna do. So him saying you're gonna be a lawyer, I was kind of just like, nah, chill. I went through like 3 different majors in college. At first I was doing journalism, which, I mean, it's funny because the majority of things that I wanted to do or that I came across is everything that wraps up into my profession right now. So, journalism is a lot of writing. My job is very writing intensive. So my job is basically to tell the government about a certain individual and their profession throughout their life. So I'm literally just writing a story. Not a story, I mean, it's the truth, but writing about an individual. Sometimes my cover letters, my petitions will come up to like 17 pages, like 15 pages, just writing about this person. So it's just funny that I started out with journalism. I moved to psychology. I love psychology. And I think it helps me in my job today as well. Like I said, this is a stressful process, and people are always going to come to me, not just for legal counsel, but just, to voice their concerns, their worries. And, I know how to deal with people and to let them, understand the process that they're dealing with and kind of calm down. And so all of this is just wrapped up into my job today. But I was, not going to be a lawyer. Definitely did not want to. And then, something happened in my life, and my dad looked at me and said, hey, if I help you out with this, you are going to law school. And to me, it was like, damn, like, this is death right now. like, if I don't take this, my life is over. Like, it was a lifeline, and I had to. And then I got to law school, and, during my first semester in law school, I was like, damn, like, this is so interesting. like, this is so great.
Yeah, so what law school did you go to?
I went to FIU, Florida International University, down in Miami, Florida.
Oh, so how was that?
And yeah, we are
alumni.
Number 1 bar passage rate in our state. Always. No, I'm just kidding. Not always, but we've been doing it. It's been a few years now that we're back to back number 1. So other law schools might get heard about more often, but if you want to pass the bar, go to FIU. I'm just saying.
So how was the process in a law school compared to like UM?
Well,
UM got business too.
UM has a law school too.
Yeah. I'm thinking like, why not UCF too? God,
yeah.
Y'all got it. Anyway,
we all got different law.
What do you mean, law school versus undergrad?
Yeah.
Okay. So law school was like, excuse my language, but like a bitch slap.
All right,
can I say that?
No, we can say that. You can say that?
We gonna keep that.
No, when I first got... So, I've always been super about academics. I've always been... I mean, my fun when I was younger, we'd go to Walmart and I'd be like, can I get a word search book? Like, that was what I found fun. Like, I liked all the nerdy stuff, and, I mean, except for math. I hate math. But,
I'm with you on that one.
But once I got to law school, it was kind of just like a slap in the face. Like, I was up against the brightest of the brightest. And so I kind of coasted through school because I was always good at it. That was my thing. And even in undergrad, I used to get, A's just, my best friend used to always laugh at me because I would just sit there like on the TV, you know, on my laptop, like, I'm studying. Like, you know, my mom's in the kitchen cooking, like the dog's barking, and she's looking at me like, you're studying? Like, how can you get any work done? And then, you know, I get into the exam and I ace it. And, you know, that was just what I'm used to, right? Mm-hmm. When I got to law school, it was like, you know, you're on a curve. So it's basically, it depends on the person who does the best in the class, what the grades are going to be looking like. So you're up against that person to do the best in the class, because once you get down to only a certain number of people in the class can get an A. Only a certain number of people in the class can get a B, and so on and so forth. Once that is capped, like let's call it 20 people in the class can get an A, no other person is getting an A. It doesn't matter what you put on that paper.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's what a curve is. So
hold on. That's what it is in law school. So if, like, let's say only 10 people can get an A, and those 10 people get those A's, and my paper is probably better than theirs.
You set a standard first.
Like,
I mean, if you are better than those 10 people, then, you know, you'll be the top of the class. But
okay.
So you're the standard.
But
so there's like no way that everybody gets.
No, there's absolutely no way that everybody in the class is getting an A.
As long as someone set that standard.
So it's just, you know, it comes down to the nitty gritty. Like, you know, you made a couple mistakes, you know, you automatically get knocked down, you know? So it, like I said, it was just a slap in the face. Like, I did so well before, and now I came into law school, and I was just like, oh man, like, everybody is good at what they're doing. Like, I didn't expect this. Which, I mean, I guess it was naive on my part, because, I mean, obviously you're going up against the best of the best to get into law school. And FIU is one of those schools that has, their application process is pretty, I'm at a loss for words, but...
Was it standard or above average?
Yeah, they don't accept a lot of people. Okay. So you're going up against the best of the best, and then only a certain amount will get in. So, you know, like I said, when I got in and I realized, like, damn, people are doing the damn thing. Like I gotta actually compete here. And so, you know, what I thought I would get through before by coasting, like, that was just no longer a thing. So yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot to take in, and it's a completely different culture and a completely different, even just language. Like, learning how to legal write and legal research was just, like I said, a completely different language. Like, I thought I was a good writer, and then I went to law school and they taught me legal writing, and I was like, what? Like, why? Like, why do I have to write this way? You just relearn everything.
That sounds like me. The first time they told me I had to start citing stuff, I'm like, why? Isn't this good enough? It's like, you wanted me to write it in my own words, now you want me to tell you where I found it.
You don't believe in my words.
Exactly.
Hate them.
Yeah, well, citations is a huge thing in law too, so.
Alright, so, like, just because I'm curious, what is the average day by day for a lawyer?
So, I mean, I guess every lawyer is different, I think, especially based on what area they went into. So, I mean, like, I don't do criminal, I don't do personal injury. Like, everyone is going to have their different day-to-day. You know, for a criminal attorney, you might be at the court all day. Like, you know, it depends, I guess. So for my job for business immigration, most of what I do is done in the office. I mean, I could do what I do from the beach or the house, or, you know, from anywhere really. Because like I said, it's a lot of writing. It's a lot of putting evidence together. You know, the clients will give me, you know, everything that proves their professional endeavors and their career throughout their entire lives, basically. And then I put that together and I write about it, and I let the officer know, like, hey, this is what this person does. This is who this person is. This is why this person is so amazing at their job. This is why we need them. So it's just, like I said, a lot of typing, a lot of putting stuff together. You know, the point that it comes to that I actually have to, you know, be in the office is when I have to meet with clients, when we have to sign forms. You know, checking emails is a huge thing. Like I said, this administration has people really scared. So a lot of my time is actually taken up with emails and phone calls, because people are, you know, getting news from other people like, hey, well, my friend said XYZ. Well, I researched this, and this, you know, this website said XYZ. And it's just like, you know, you I promise you can't keep up with things as much as you think you can. It's really just best to leave it to people who are in the industry, in the field, and are getting the information, right then and there. So another thing is that I'm a member of AILA, so American Immigrant Lawyers, Immigration Lawyers Association.
Thank you for clearing that up.
I was gonna ask that. Yo, you guys, you just saw my face. Ayla, hold on. I've never met her.
See, I was like, what?
Yeah, the acronyms are heavy, dog.
I mean, that's another part of me saying it's a completely different language. Like, it depends on what you go into. Even just, calling somebody an immigrant, in our profession, it's FN, foreign national.
See that?
So it's
There go that French again, dog.
I want you. And she said that's very important because the word immigrant has a stigma on it, like a very strong stigma. So when you change that stigma is the first thing, because you're not just an immigrant or somebody who's on the run. You feel what I'm saying? You're a foreign national. You're an individual who's trying to take control of your life and trying to make a difference. I'm not gonna sit here and be on a high horse and be like, hey, not everybody is good and not everybody is bad. They're good and bad peoples on both sides of the fence. But that's why these processes are here. It's here to help weed out what's bad so we can get some of the good. And that's what happens when you have a lawyer, because I can tell, for instance, if you have I'm gonna say a client who comes in and you know for sure that this person is not going to be successful, I would love to hope that instead of sitting here and take this person's money and act like I'm going to do something, I'm going to let you know up front, like, hey, based on what's going on in your life or what you're doing, based on your business opportunity, as a business immigration lawyer, that I'm not going to be able to work with you based on these stigmas. And these are stigmas you have to fix. So instead of you sitting here becoming an illegal immigrant on the run, you can stay a foreign national and fix your stuff so you can be able to take the next process ahead, if I said that correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's part of my process in general, is just being completely upfront with people. I'm not going to take your money if I can't do anything for you. That to me, I wouldn't be able to sleep well at night. If I take your case and I can't actually get you something or actually attempt to help you, I would just feel like a crappy person. But also, if there is something that I, don't know or I can't help you with, I can always refer you out. I can refer you to people that I do work with in my network that I know and I trust that do know what you need to know. Once you've overstayed, that's not in my realm anymore. Because, for employment-based stuff, there are, or I shouldn't say stuff, but, it's visa or green card, so I just say stuff. But for employment-based immigration, there are a certain amount of days that immigration will kind of give you a pass for if you overstayed or worked, but it only goes up to 180 days. So that's 6 months, and you have to have your petition in before then. Nobody recommends that. But, hey, if you overstay a month and then you decide, I need to go see an attorney, we can still kind of work with you.
Okay.
If you overstayed past that 6 months, past that 180 days, and they're very strict on the counting of the days too. So, if it gets to, let's say, July 30th and you were supposed to have left 6 months prior, you're now accruing even more from that July 30th. It starts midnight July 30th. It's not even but I still have a grace period of this day. No, they're very strict with it. But yeah, so if that didn't qualify for an employment-based visa, if you overstayed too long, I know that that's not in my wheelhouse, I'm going to refer you out. Maybe there's another era here where you can take advantage of. That all happens in the consultation. You're going to tell me about your life, about your criminal history, about your immigration history, about your family, and, we can take it from there and see, hey, is there an area here that you need to go down? But yeah, so back to AILA. So AILA is, like I said, the American Immigration Lawyers Association, and it's national. So members are immigration lawyers across the country, in any state, in any city in the United States. And I definitely think that AILA does a great job at informing lawyers of new things because, they're an organization that, like I said, it's national, so they work with the national governmental agencies like ICE and DHS and USCIS and ERO and all of these agencies that are supposed to be processing and helping the government in immigration, we do have a good enough relationship with them so that we get news right off the bat. So when you're having these clients who are freaking out and like, oh, well, I heard it from a friend of a friend, like, you don't even know if that case was so long ago that this doesn't even, qualify for you anymore. It doesn't mean anything to you because like that's not good law anymore. And a lot of clients would like to compare cases. So like, hey, well, my friend did the same exact case in the same exact profession and, this is how it worked for him, but you're telling me XYZ. Like, not every case is the same. It doesn't matter if you have the same profession. It doesn't matter if you worked at the same company. And not every case is going to be the same, ever. So that, like I said, takes up a lot of my time. People are scared and they're calling and they, want reassurance and they want to find out, news and they want, answers to questions. And so that's a huge part of my day. Client consults, that takes up some time. And for the most part, it's just, like I said, legal work, research. I'm on Google trying to figure out, like, hey, what do we need in the U.S. for national interest waivers? Is this profession something that, is super important right now? Is the news right now that's going on affecting this area, that career, that profession to the point where we need these people, in the U.S.? So, it's a lot.
So, Janelle, I want to ask, and I know, guys, we're getting to the meat. I would say we got to the meat, getting to the bonus situation. What advice do you have for anyone seeking any form of immigration help?
Just that, literally, just that. Be proactive. Find help, find an immigration attorney, and be very careful and be very wary of people who say that they are attorneys. There are sites out there that you can actually find out if somebody is an attorney. I know in Florida, there is, as soon as you become an attorney, you get an AVVO site.
And what's that?
So AVVO is the site where you can go to actually rate your attorneys. So you can actually see their ratings as well. See if it, there's somebody that you want to get involved with.
Oh, so it's like Yelp.
Yeah, but for attorneys. So,
Gotcha.
and there are attorneys who can, I guess, that have gotten rid of their AVVO profiles as well. So, it's very difficult to do, though. It's a very difficult process to go through. But if you don't find your attorney on AVVO, you can also look them up on the Florida Bar. There is a whole page dedicated to member search of the Florida Bar. Any attorney who is barred in Florida is going to be on the Florida Bar member search. If you don't find them on the Florida Bar member search and they tell you that they're an attorney in Florida,
that
they are
boy's
not
a fraud.
an attorney in Florida.
And I'm happy you said that because personally, and I guess I'm talking from some, I'm gonna go a little bit ghetto for that. If you know what I'm saying, most people in the hood don't trust lawyers.
Yeah, to me, I came into this profession and I didn't even like attorneys. So I feel y'all.
You feel me?
Attorneys, a lot of them that I've met, I've come across have been very arrogant. They've been very, just shady. So I understand it and I get it. But there are good ones out there. And so you need to do your research. You really do. When you're coming across attorneys, you need to figure that out. Also, it looks bad on us when people claim to be attorneys, but they're not. So that's why I said, you really do need to research. You need to figure out, is this person a lawyer to begin with? There are people out there who will say, yeah, I can help you. I know in the, there's actually an article about this on my website, FernandesImmigration.com.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry. You're going to plug that in a minute, girl.
So, Fernandes,
you at the bone of that.
Fernandes, not a Z, it's with an S. Immigration.com, but I wrote an article about the notario situation. So in a lot of European countries and Central American countries and, Spanish-speaking countries, there's not really a big difference between notarios and attorneys. So you have to be an attorney to become a notario. In the United States, that's not the case at all. Notarios don't mean anything in the U.S. A notary is basically the translation to that. And a notary, you can take an online course and become a notary.
Thank you. For anybody who out there who say they can't find work, I'm just keeping it real. You know what I'm saying? If you can't find a job, go take that online course, get your notary game up.
Where am I going to get a computer?
Hey, the library. And you feel me?
That's true.
And Trev, it's a good thing. You said something.
Your neighbor, you're somebody.
No, but Trev, you said something. You talk about you don't have no computer. A lot of people don't understand that your smartphone is a computer nowadays.
True. And everybody got a phone.
And everybody got a phone. And people be throwing smartphones away. Trevor just gave me one earlier. He's like, if you ain't got nothing to do with this, here. Right?
But yeah, so it's a really dangerous situation when you come across the notarios who say like, yeah, I'm an attorney, I can help you with your, immigration forms or your immigration petition, or, and then they end up completely screwing the client over. And it's just a sad situation to see because we end up getting them at the tail end. Like the case was completely screwed up by somebody who claimed to be an attorney, or, somebody who might be, barred, but they let people who aren't barred do the legal work. So, and we've seen that, and it for the attorney community, it's important for us to report them, and we try to. We don't know all of them out there, but having somebody deal with your case can completely screw you and your family over. And then once it gets to that point, you come to an attorney and actually pay the fees, and now we have to deal with the mess and try and figure out like, how can we salvage this? Is this salvageable? And by that point, it's just a sad situation. Like I said, do your research, get an attorney, be proactive. If you feel like, hey, maybe I should find out. Some attorneys, I do free consults right now. Right now I think it's an important era to try and do the free consults. Not everybody does free consultations, but you can be pretty certain that people who require money for consultations, they're pretty good at their jobs too. So I just would say try to see your options, try to get advice, try to, figure that out before you actually need to, before you've been detained, before you overstay, before you have no other options. That's to me my best advice for anyone out there that is an immigrant, that is coming to the U.S., that is in the U.S., is to just get that advice ASAP, especially right now.
So basically, jump into it head first instead of making that one phone call like, hey, so I messed up, and then just taking it from that route.
And I mean, another thing that I can say is that a lot of people, for some reason, I mean, they teach us this in law school, and I really didn't think it was this bad until I got out and I was practicing. People lie to their attorneys so much. And it's like a running joke at this point. Like, why would you lie to the person who you're literally paying to help you get out of the mess that you're in?
See, like, when it comes to that, like, I know, like, it's side topic, but, like, I watch shows like, Law and Order and all that type of stuff, and, like, you got the first question they ask is, all right, I'm gonna need you to tell me everything, starting off, did you do it? And, like, people get nervous with stuff like that because they feel like they're incriminating themselves.
Okay, listen. I can tell you right now, in my opinion, if an attorney is walking into the situation and asking, did you do it? They're not a good attorney. First of all, like, if you did do it is irrelevant to us because all we're looking at is how to get you out of the situation. What does the evidence prove? And this is speaking criminally because I'm not a criminal attorney, but this is just my view and what I've seen and what I know. I did do criminal law in law school, so I can speak a little bit.
Okay.
But I just think that lying just doesn't make any sense. But that question, I mean, I wouldn't go with an attorney that asked me if I did it. I'm gonna just be real. But if your attorney did ask you if you did it or not, they're your attorney. Like, you're literally coming up out of pocket to, like, give this person the information that they need to try to get you out of your jam.
Nice.
It doesn't make any sense to lie to them. Now,
it's true. As
long as they're your attorney, I would never tell you to go and say anything like that to just any attorney, or even, a state attorney. Like, say, that's just ridiculous. Like, why would you tell the state attorney who's trying to put you in jail information? But if this person is yours, you have signed a retainer agreement, there is a contract, you have paid this person, like, this person is your lifeline, guys. Like, use it and tell them everything that they need so that they can, get you out of what's going on, or they can have all the information necessary to, like, formulate a game plan and try and figure out, like, all right, how do I go about this? I've been in situations as well where people, try to hide things from me or try to just, be shady with me. I'm not one of those people. I don't put up with lying. I don't put up with the BS. Like, if I feel like you're lying to me, I'm just going to cut you loose. Like, we can't work together. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I need to know the facts, and I need to be able to, like, formulate that plan to say, like, I did my best here. You know, there are so many attorneys that get caught off guard, and, you know, the other side finds stuff out before them, and it's just amusing. It's just, like I said, it's a running joke. Like, everybody's just like, yeah, you know, if they're telling the truth.
So, Joe, I want to make sure we get our plugs out of the way. Oh,
wait. On that same topic, I did come across a case recently as well that was kind of similar to that, but the reason that the client gave me for not, like, I guess, being honest or upfront with the attorney is he was scared, especially in the immigration area, that the attorney could screw him over. Like, hey guys, I know that, you know, things are hella shady in other countries, and especially in third world countries, and, you know, people will blackmail you and extort you and do all kinds of stuff, but, like, this is the United States of America. There are all these ethical rules. Like, we can't even become an attorney without passing an exam on ethics.
Right.
Your attorney and that attorney-client confidentiality exists no matter what. You know, feel free and be, I guess, comfortable in actually speaking to your attorney. And even if it's to fire your attorney, even if you just feel like, okay, this is not working out, like, your attorney cannot go back and say anything, like, you know, to anyone about this, because they could get in trouble. You could report them yourself to the Florida bar to try to get them disbarred. So, like, I mean, I don't know any attorneys personally that would ever risk their license to just go and be like, oh, I'm gonna get you back because you fired me. Like, no, like, we are here as a community to help you, especially in immigration.
Okay, so here's a question.
That's deep.
If this is not dealing with the immigration lawyer side, this is just straight lawyer side, period. Did you watch the Netflix When They See Us?
Yes, I did. And I bawled my eyes out.
For those kids that went through that situation, what would you suggest the proper way they should have handled that?
Listen, I tell my brother is 10 years younger than me. My brother's just hit 21. I've had this conversation with him as well. I tell everyone who will listen, do not speak to police. Police are not your friend. I think society has, you know, tried to you know, I want to say it's just fraudulent. Like, so society ingrains in us, like, you need help, call the police. The police are on your side. You know, the police are here for you. At the end of the day, the police are here to try to figure out who did a crime, and they're doing their jobs, and they're not well trained, as we can all see in the U.S. I think somebody told me you don't even have to go to college to be a police officer, so that make sense. You know what I mean?
You just need to run through a training academy, shoot a pistol a couple times, run across the field, and they hand you a badge.
Do some front flips.
And,
you're good.
And I know that there's, like, references now, because one of my neighbors actually applied to be a police officer, and they came to my house and were like, hey, what do you know about this person? We're collecting references. Like, you know, is this a good person to be a police officer? And, you know, as much as I think it's a great idea to do that and to get references from people who know the person, I don't know about y'all, but I rarely speak to any of my neighbors. I'm always either on the go, at work, in my house. Like, you know, the most I might say to a neighbor is, like, good morning, good evening, like, oh, hey, did the garbage man come by yet? Or, you know, like, it just... pleasantries at best. And so to me it was just like, yeah, this is wonderful, but, like, you don't know these people as well as you think you know them, and at the same time people hide who they are all the time. So it's a great thing to kind of, like, sugarcoat it and, you know, put a mask over it and try and be like, oh, it's a fix it and a fixer upper, but you know, to get references from people and to try to make sure that, you know, these people are who they say they are, but who really knows anybody.
True.
So I don't know. Like I said, my advice would just be, do not speak to police. Like, the only words that should ever come out of your mouth when you get arrested is, I want to talk to an attorney. Or if you can't afford an attorney, just, you know, sit it out, because the more you talk, the more you're going to get yourself in problems. You know, hopefully you can afford bail. If you can't afford bail, you'll end up getting an attorney at your trial, or not even at your trial, actually.
Public defender?
The first hearing, you know, the public defender will be there. And granted, nobody likes to, you know, deal with public defenders, but I guarantee you that dealing with a public defender is always going to be better than dealing with the cops, because the cops are just there to solve a crime. The cops are just there to say, okay, who did it? All right, my job is over. So talking to cops, never a good idea.
Mm-hmm. So why is there such a negative look at public defenders?
You know, it's just another one of those government jobs that are completely overworked and underpaid.
Okay.
So I just think it's the amount of cases that they're coming across, is the amount of work that they actually have to do, and it's difficult to be in those positions, because I've had a government position as well. It's not easy to keep on track and to keep track of everybody that you have. So a client will come to you and automatically feel like I'm your only client in the world. That's just, I don't know, it's kind of like psychological. Like you're not worried about anybody else that this person has. Like, I am your client and you need to be there when I call. That's how clients are. And so I kind of just feel like people come across public defenders and you know, one might call them by the wrong name or something along those lines. Like, you tell me when you're getting, like, you know, I mean, I honestly, I don't know the caseload for public defenders. I just know the caseload for my job that I had in government, but let's call it like 50 cases. So you're getting 50 cases on a rotating basis because, you know, once you're done with one case, you get another. Like, it comes back to back. So you tell me when you can start to remember 50 cases of people that you don't even know, you know, you haven't even met yet, or... and people want to get upset at that. And so it's like, I understand you want the personalized service, but also think about how many people this person actually has to represent, and facts of cases that this person actually has to remember. And, you know, so, I mean, it's difficult. It's difficult both ways for the person who's arrested and the person who's dealing with the case. But I also know that I've never met a public defender that wasn't passionate about their job and really wanted to make a difference and help people.
Yeah. There's always on social media is a negative look.
Yeah.
Like, you're just nothing but a name on a paper.
Yeah. And I mean, it's sad, but it's just the reality of it. I mean, you can only do so much when you're getting so much of a caseload and so many things to do at once.
Okay.
But I do think that, like I said, it's better than speaking to cops, because they will use everything you say. I mean, they literally tell it to you when they see you. They literally say to you, what you say can and will be used against you. Like, do not talk to these people. And even if they don't tell you that you're under arrest, like, even if it's just a friendly conversation, it's never a friendly conversation. They're not your friends. Cops are not your friends.
Right.
Yeah, that's just my take. I don't do cops.
Oh, that's all of us. All of us feel
None of us do, Janelle. But Janelle, I want to make sure we get some plugs. I want to make sure the website, any phone numbers, anyone could reach out for consultation, or, you know, anyone who needs any form of information where they can look to find you personally. Right.
Okay. So, like I said before, the website is FernandesImmigration.com. FERNANDES, not Z. Fernandez with an S. Immigration.com. I also have an Instagram going. I'm not great with social media. I'm trying to get there, but the Instagram is also Fernandes Immigration. On Instagram. There's also a Facebook page for the firm as well. So Fernandes Immigration Law, you can look that up. My office number is 754-300-8434. You can always call to try to schedule a consult, or you can, use the consult page or consult button on my website. So just, either fill out
use it.
Yeah, fill out the paperwork, it'll send an email right to me, or you can just, get the number off of the website. But yeah, you can reach out.
All right, guys. So first and foremost, I want to thank Janelle Fernandes for coming on and sitting with us.
No doubt.
I told you guys I had something special in store, and I'm gonna keep it real. You can't get no better than this. If you wanted information about immigration, you didn't get it today, reach out. She's available. Please do.
Or if you just have any questions, if you want to figure out if you qualify, like I said, just be proactive, guys. Don't just sit there and think that, hey, I probably don't qualify. You don't know that. You don't know that, and you never will unless you ask.
So, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up this week.
All right.
And I think I would say I'm gonna give a positive thought, and I'm gonna take the ratchet, both of them.
Oh. Okay, you gonna double down?
I'm double down.
Got you.
I'm gonna say this.
That's a disgusting sandwich by KFC.
No. Well, Trevor. Ratchet thought today done by Trevor. So I think you took the ratchet. I think I'm taking the positive.
I don't think that was a ratchet. That was a comment.
That was facts.
Yeah, that's facts. That's facts. That's facts. So Trevor, you took that one. For anybody who ate that disgusting KFC sandwich. But let me stop. Guys, positive thought of the week is the fact that knowledge is power. Take the opportunity that's given to you and the knowledge that is in front of you and utilize it. Please don't, because if you miss that opportunity, you don't want to get left behind. For anybody who out there who's really seeking help, if there's one thing that is proven, as Janelle is here, that there is help. You are never and you are not alone, right? Seek out the people you need to seek out, and you'll be surprised. Just with a small conversation, it can change the whole outlook. And I'm using the word outlook briefly, and I want to use it broadly on your life.
You should write quotes.
I just speak from the heart. But One Pod Podcast, guys. Janelle is amazing. We out.
Out. Peace.
Thanks for having me.